What's up, YouTube? Hey guys, happy holidays, happy New Year, all that good stuff. If you guys are watching this when this came out, it should be right around Christmas, right around New Year's. So I hope you guys are having a happy holidays. I decided to take a look back on my 2022 season, just a recap of all the regionals or bigger events I've played in, kind of reflect on them a little bit and walk you guys through my process on how my season has gone. Because when each event is happening, there's only a week or 2 weeks in between some of these, and you don't really have a chance to like sit down and reflect, because your mind has to go to the next one. You don't really have a chance to step back and say, I did pretty good, or man, I did really bad. I need to figure out what I did wrong. Um, so I figured, well, we've come to the end of the year. Yes, it's not the end of a season, but the road to Yokohama is still running, and I wanted to kind of go through my 2022 season with you guys. So COVID happened for a good, 2 something years with Pokemon, and my biggest goal was to maintain my top 16 spot coming back into the season. After the announcement of top 32, I knew that there was a pretty good chance that no matter what I did, I would retain my top 32 spot for the day 2 berth. But getting top 16 was still a point of pride for me. The money involved was also, very nice to have. So, you know, it was a little bit of a more laissez-faire return. The winning wasn't really on my mind. Like, winning a regionals was not like my main concern. Winning an IC wasn't my main concern. It was just maintaining, which is where I think things started going wrong to start my season off. We kicked off the season at Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm putting a little bit of the deck I played, a little picture kind of from it, so you guys can kind of walk through this with me. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you've been kind of experiencing this journey alongside myself. And kind of getting to be a part of my journey with me, which is really awesome, and I appreciate you guys being here. So Salt Lake City, Utah is where we kicked the season off with Arceus Inteleon, a deck that was not super flashy, super crazy, but consistent. This is where the kind of union of our group began, where myself, Xander, and Sam had showed up and decided to work with Isaiah, John, and Slutsky was there as well, but we decided to kind of start working with Isaiah, John, and Justin, kind of like make a group, because we were all friends over the pandemic. We all talked over the pandemic, and we figured why not just bring everyone together and kind of work together. Now I went 8-4-2, having a pretty rough day 2. I think like I recovered my day 2 like from not getting top 128, but it wasn't like a pretty start whatsoever. And I finished 48th out of 627 players, which is good in its own right to come back. But I did start the tournament 6-0, which means that in my remaining 8 rounds, I went 2-4-2, which is something to look back at and be like, man, what went wrong? Where did things start, going so poorly for me? And then April 22nd, we headed to Frankfurt, Germany for the first international of the season, EUIC, and this is where the group put a lot of work in. We put a lot of work into this Urshifu Inteleon deck, kind of cemented it as one of our favorite decks to play. Made sure that this deck could kind of deal with a lot of the issues, a lot of the problems, and it was really good for the meta. Justin and Isaiah both made top 8 with the 60-card list that we played, which is telling of how good the list was. I, however, went 7-4-3, having a pretty rough day 2 after making it at 6-2-1. This was in combination with a bunch of poor performance plays. I started the day 1-0 on day 2, and then I started playing really, really poorly after what should have been a win ended up becoming a tie, due to myself just playing really poorly or making one mistake, and then that just catapulted into like a break in round 3, and then I just tilted off the face of the earth, and I just didn't play well. So 55th out of 618, not a bad placement regardless. This was us in an escape room, if you know this picture. I post usually the pictures and stuff to like Instagram as well, if you guys want to follow me there. Shameless plug, I know, but that's usually where I keep the personal pictures of our trips and stuff. We like to do escape rooms. That's our group's thing. And then on May 7th, we came back and hit Indianapolis, where I made the meta call that Arceus Beedrill would be probably the best deck for the format, because everyone wanted to run back Urshifu, but I just figured like there's so much Urshifu hate going on. Beedrill deals with a lot of the metagame. Why don't we just put everything together and just kind of go in there and try to counter the counters? And if we hit Urshifus, we're going to lose. But I think that enough people will lose to Urshifu, and Urshifu is a very hard deck to play, that will be fine. And exactly what I said happened, and we ended up doing very well. Isaiah made finals, Reagan won his division. I think all of us made day 2 in this picture here, which is something that is very hard to replicate when you have so many people in a group. 6 out of 6 making it to day 2 in Masters, and our senior player going to the championship and winning the title is very, very hard to replicate, especially in a field of 1,100 players. My day started off 0-2 in day 2, and I remember like rallying back 4 in a row. I should have won that second round in day 2, but I prized both Beedrill in game 3. but it does happen. And so we came back to a 10-4-1 record. Not a bad record, but I did bubble top 32 by getting 34th. So then we headed to Secaucus, New Jersey, and this is where I did a little bit of trolling. I decided to play Inteleon VMAX. I separated from the group where I think everyone else was playing Urshifu, besides Xander, who came along with me. Unfortunate for Xander that he came along with me. But I was pretty convinced that Inteleon VMAX was a really good deck. And for its credit, it did very, very well based on the deck that Nico and I worked on Nico Alabus. And the problem, however, was my two ties that were the RCS decks, where it just really felt like I needed like 5 more minutes in both matchups. Like it was an inevitability that I would have won the game, just 5 more minutes. And these games are so hard to scoop because you just don't know when you're going to win or lose. Like it's so close that you're winning or losing on like the penultimate turn. So 5-2-2 is not a bad record. I did pick up some points here. Reagan did end up winning the seniors division, and we ended up capping this regionals off with some success. And then we moved on towards Vancouver, where only a couple of us went because it is a far journey. And this might be the same case this year as well, where I ended up playing Urshifu Inteleon. Again, I felt really good about Urshifu Inteleon. I thought like this was a play. My backup was the RCS Malamar Jolteon deck, but I didn't put any time into it. So we didn't really test too much. We just kind of felt comfortable with the list. And Justin did end up making top 8 with this list, which was super awesome for Justin. But John and I both, had a pretty rough day, and it put us at like out of the tournament pretty early. I finished 5-3-1, not earning any points myself. But I did start 5-1-1, which is a pretty good record. Just losing the last two to some rough bad beats. But I think I played pretty well at this tournament. This is where I felt like I was really coming back into my groove as a player, and I played super well. Milwaukee brought us to Palkia, the release of Palkia V-Star, and this is when our group did not really understand that Irida was really good, so we just kind of played a like research heavy build. By heavy I mean 2, but we played like a research oriented build to kind of just dig through our deck, get to our pieces. We figured, hey, if we can research into our Inteleon pieces, we'll find exactly what we need, and that makes a lot of sense. And so it did make a lot of sense for the time being, and I did perform well enough to get 35th, but day 2 started off super rocky after coming in at 6-2-1. I was 6-1-1, then I lost 3 rounds in a row to Stonejourner, Raikou, and the eventual winner, Arceus Duraludon. So I did rally back my remaining rounds, kind of fixing that mental issue I've been having of just knowing when to, knowing that I need to continue playing the tournament even though I'm eliminated from top 8 cut, finishing 35th and securing another bubble, which kind of sucked, but it is what it is. At NAIC, we did play another Palkia list. This one was much, much more successful, as we saw 3 of the 4 players who played it finish in the top 16 of the entire tournament. And then I finished 1-4 drop and did not finish the tournament, having my worst tournament performance probably of my lifetime, simply due to bad draws. And I think I probably played pretty poorly when I was tilted, but not much to say here. Just a rough NAIC. NAIC never goes my way. So Worlds we had there, and the group ends up playing Palkia Inteleon once again, and I decided to pivot to something that I thought would be more of the flavor of the month, that I thought would have a good matchup in the field. I thought Arceus Inteleon would be the most popular Arceus deck. I thought Mew would be much more popular than it was, and I thought Palkia would be a lot more popular than it was, and I picked Regigigas as my deck of choice. I had an affinity for Regigigas. It was testing really well, and I think it was our group's second choice if Palkia was not winning games the way it was. Unfortunately, I had a lot of bad matchups. By that, I mean just things that had Empoleon, things that played Heavy Horn, and my tournament run got ended pretty quickly, finishing 2-3 and dropping when there was 8 rounds in the whole tournament. I could have played the remaining 3 to earn a better placement, but I was eliminated from top 32. I was eliminated from any prizing, so I just was in a spot where I wanted to enjoy the rest of the World Championships, and so I dropped and kind of enjoyed the event as a whole. And it was an amazing comeback from COVID, and then I thought this would be my swan song. I thought this is where I would kind of pack it up and come back as a casual player in the future years, stick to content creating and do all that. But they announced Japan, and something inside of me just said, Rahul, you're not going to want to go to Japan as a day 1 player. You're not going to want to go to Japan as someone who has not proven themselves and fight for all that. You're going to go to Japan regardless of what happens. Invite, no invite, day 1, day 2, doesn't matter. But go with your head held high. So I figured, let's do it 1 more year. Let's see how I feel after 1 more year. And then I came back. Went to Baltimore. Didn't put too much time in from Worlds to Baltimore. We didn't test at all just because the Worlds burnout was really hard for a lot of us. And we decided to play Origin Form Palkia with a 1-1 Ice Rider line. Now, this one was a little bit of a bittersweet tournament because I was 9-2-2 at some point in the tournament, meaning if I had won my remaining 2 rounds, I would have been in the top 8. But I ended up losing to Tord in a heartbreaking opener, just a brick in game 1 and 3, and then into a double brick against Mew as well in games 2 and 3. So A little bit of a heartbreak to put me back in top 64. A little bit upsetting because I was so close to even getting that top 32 berth that have not gotten since I came back from COVID. So it was a little bit disheartening, and I was pretty upset about it. But what happens happens. And then we went to Salt Lake, and in between this, I was actually gone. Like for a majority, I was gone in Mexico for about 12 days for a wedding. So I didn't have any time to test this format. I didn't put any effort into this format. I know it's an excuse that doesn't hold any weight, but I came back. I came to Utah, and I ended up showing up at like 4 a.m. because my flight got delayed, or like 3 a.m. because like my flight got delayed, and I showed up. So I was just even grateful to be there. And I should have played Palkia because it's a deck I know, but I wanted to play Tino with John because the deck seemed really fun. And I think that was my mistake because I played really poorly and I ended up 5-3-1. Like I started 2-3, so it's not like I was close to top a day 2 or anything. I was like out of the tournament by like round 5. This is like a very false foo-foo record that I had to claw my way back into after starting the tournament poorly. So 5-3-1. It'd be like that, one of my worst. Like 5-3-1 still not a bad performance, but. And then we went to Sao Paulo, where I didn't even have any time to like kind of recover, think about what happened. We tested a lot for this tournament, playing Lugia Archeops, and I ended up going 5-3-1 once again. But this time I was eliminated in round 7, which is still not a great place to be in. So my confidence has really taken a blow. Like at this point in everything, I'm thinking, I don't even care about day 2 worlds. I don't care about anything. I just want to get back to making day 2 of a regionals, like 2 in a row. That's not a good feeling. Yes, this one felt super out of my control, but it was like that. So I did pick up 80 points, though, which is really crucial for the end of the year race. And then we headed to Toronto, where we played Lugia Archeops, and I finished 11-4, losing to Jake Gearhart on stream. Finishing 13th out of 1,061 players. Had the tournament been even like 20, 30 players smaller, I would have been able to ID into top cut at 11-3. But given the circumstances of how the tournament was massive and the kingmakers of the day were not winning games, we ended up in a situation where you had to be at 35 match points at minimum to even guarantee it. And that was something that was a little bit disheartening, but I came really close, bricked really hard on stream game 3, but I was playing really well to even put myself in that position, and I was proud of myself. Now, this comes to our final tournament of the year in Arlington, Texas, the biggest regionals in history, and I decided to play Regigigas. I pivoted from the group. I played Regigigas. I felt really comfortable with it. I said, this is the time. I feel like it's Reggie time, and I was really scared that what happened at Worlds would happen again. But I rattled off a 7-1-1 start to bring off the day in day 1. And, well, yes, I did go 4-2 in day 2, but I was so close to top 8 once again. And it was something that really was awesome. Like, I getting back-to-back top 16s is, like, amazing. Yes, I know top 8 is way better, but I have to shoot forward. It's just a one step at a time, building your confidence back. You know where you were as a player at one point, but coming back from COVID, it's like, it's been 3 years. It's been 3 years since I've gotten to do this. Do I have it in me? Can I keep up with these people who are working much harder than me? Those kinds of questions arise, and confidence is a big thing. So thank you for the support, as always. I didn't really mean for this video to drone on as much as it did, but I will be doing my best in the next year. I hope you guys can enjoy the journey with me. If you haven't seen any of my journey so far, the vlogs are a good indicator of how my tournament experiences go, and then my tournament reports also exist, so please check those out if you will. But yeah, I'll be making my way to Japan. There's 8 more months to see how much I can do, how much damage I can do in the system. 19th place right now in North America, and hopefully we'll cement our top 16 spot moving forward. So thank you for the support as always. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and have a happy holidays, everyone.